Hi, Will. Welcome to Actors Making It.
Thank you very much for having me, Danny. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for joining me. Lovely to have had you reach out. You're obviously a friend of Josh's.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, great.
Josh and I, we did a commercial in 2018 for McCain's beer battered chips.
Okay.
I'm sure you know it.
I don't know. I don't watch a
You
lot of
don't.
terrestrial TV these days, so I don't
I
see a lot of ads. Though I have seen your Dare advert.
Yeah, the Dare ad that's been on for a while. That one. But yeah, Josh and I met doing this commercial a few years ago, which I think was just online, and kind of didn't see him again after that until I came here in 2019 for 10 days. And he'd moved here with his wife, Steph. So really, they were the only people here that I knew when I moved,
Yeah,
which is,
nice.
4 months ago now. I moved here.
To LA.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, when I read your email, I think I misunderstood. I thought you said you'd moved in 2020. Um,
No, no. So I got my visa. It was such a disaster. Anyone who's trying to get a visa as an actor knows the O1 visa, which is the one I've got, is a 3-year visa. It's a hell of an obstacle course to get through to get it.
yeah.
And I got it in January of 2020. So I was kind of rejoicing that, I'm probably going to go to LA, maybe April, maybe May. And obviously I wasn't going anywhere. So
No, no.
2 years later, which is obviously January just passed, January 2022, I came. But now the visa's about to run out. So I've got to, in the next month, get another one. It's like, it's a hell of a headache. But it's
Yeah.
kind of like that exam, that nightmare you have where you've got one more exam and you're like, I'm sure I finished all these exams. Didn't I do all
Yeah.
of these?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like. So
It's been a while since I've done an exam, but I think I remember the feeling.
yeah, yeah.
All right, cool. So this year is when you moved to LA, but let's start a little bit earlier than 2020.
Sure.
Um, what what when did you start in acting? What brought you to the idea of I want to be an actor?
Yeah, I started quite late. I'm 37 now, nearly 38, and I started at about 27.
Okay.
That was when I did kind of my first acting class, and a friend of mine, Lee, had kind of, uh, I guess, demonstrated over the 3, 4 years prior to that. He'd left. I was working in advertising, and he was working in advertising as well, and he kind of left and did this full-time acting course and then started getting work in commercials as an actor and in other TV shows and things. And I thought, well, if he can do that, maybe I can do it as well. And I was just miserable working in advertising, really miserable. I'd kind of get into the elevator to go, and I had a great job. It was once my dream job, working at Nova, the radio station. But I was in advertising sales, and not to go on too much of a tangent, but it was kind of torturous because literally, a 10-meter walk away was all the different radio programs, Husey and Kate are doing their thing, and all this creative stuff is kind of going on just over there, but I was never really a part of that.
Right.
So that was, probably 4 years after Lee had started acting. And I thought, all right, I'm going to go to the same school he did. So I went to 16th Street first and did some classes. And I was like, I'm going to make a go of this. So about 10 years
Okay.
now.
And so you've been doing it for 10 years. Had acting been something that you'd always thought about, or was it something that you all of a sudden went, that's something I can do, I'm going to do that?
I'd always thought about it, but my priority was music. So my creative priority was I was in a band. Really, I'd been playing music since I was a little kid, but in bands since I was 18. And I was in a band called Mosaic, which was an original band. We had a little indie record deal, but it felt like a really big deal at the time because we were 21. And then that just kind of naturally ran its course over 4 or 5 years. And then I kind of forgot about music for a little bit. And I was just in this rut working at Nova. I just was sort of like, you've given up on music. You're not doing anything really particularly creative. You're not happy. And yeah, as I said, Lee had done these acting courses and was raving about it. And I thought, well, why don't I just go and do one class? I had done one amateur musical for Greece at Altona Theatre. And that was kind of when I was 23. So that always stuck in my head as an enjoyable experience. And that's how Lee and I met.
Okay.
And so I sort of, I guess it was in the background there that was enjoyable. I felt like I liked being on stage. I always liked being on stage with music as well, but to be able to bring a bit of acting to it was really fun. So the acting courses kind of confirmed that.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so I mean, 27 is, I mean, it's not late, but as you said, it is kind of later than I think a lot of people um, kind of kick off any kind of acting dream, which is great. Talk to me about your, I guess, process when you start. Well, actually, when you started out with on that journey 10 years ago, what was
Yeah,
your idea of making it at that time?
very specific. I wrote down at my desk at Nova, how much money do I need to just pay my rent, keep the lights on, keep the fridge full of food, and maybe be able to go out with my friends at least once every couple of weeks, like bare minimum. And I decided that $50,000 gross at that time, 10 years ago, and probably even still today, really, would be a healthy amount of money. I had survived on less than that, living on my own. So I thought, all right, so how can I piece together $50,000? I was earning kind of close to double that in advertising, but I didn't care about that. I just wanted to be happy. So I thought, all right, I don't remember the exact split, but it was something like, what if I got one $10,000 commercial per year, which was at the time felt kind of ambitious, but I thought, well, Lee, I keep talking about Lee, but he had kind of done that. He was in like a Ford commercial at the time. And I was like, all right, well, I can do it. People are doing that. So that was one thing. I'd started doing voiceovers at Nova. So that was great. And I wasn't earning any money doing that because I worked at Nova. They had a clause that if you do anything on air, you don't get paid for it.
Right.
But I was still building up a lot of experience. And I thought, all right, let's say I can get some voiceover money coming in. Maybe that's another 10 grand. And then the rest I thought I could piece together playing live music in Melbourne. Where are you based?
I'm in Sydney.
Sydney. All right. So Sydney's live music scene isn't as kind of every second bar in Melbourne has got an acoustic musician kind of bashing out covers. And I thought, well, I can probably make some money doing that. And there's 50 grand. I thought if I need to work in a bar in between or something like that, then I can, I think I'll be happier than doing this full time. So that was my idea of making it. Get to $50,000, but be happy every day at work. And that's evolved. I achieved that goal, and it continues to evolve. I think that's what I've realized 10 years later is that it will never be. Not to say it'll never be enough, but I'm ambitious, and I think you have to be in this industry. And I just sometimes have to curb that ambition a little bit and not allow it to become dissatisfaction. Does that make sense?
Look, it makes total sense. I think it's a really interesting point to make because so often we live in this world of systems and reaching targets and goals. And we all live in this world of, if I reach this point, I will be happy. As soon as I can XYZ, then I will have done it and I will feel great. And that doesn't happen. I mean, it's like, going shopping. I really want this bag. If I buy this bag, I'm going to feel better.
Yeah.
Buy the bag. And then 10 minutes later, you're like, okay, well, I've got a bag and I've got fucking $10,000 worth of debt.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't feel better. I think it's an interesting thing to think about for every actor to think about, that it's an evolving process. But I mean, there are levels. There are obviously levels within the acting game. You need to achieve certain. There are people that are lucky and go from zero to hero very quickly, but a lot of it is hitting certain strides within the acting game, and then it's, I'm going to level up to this next. I interviewed a guy a couple of months ago, Paul Talbot, and he's got a 10 levels of acting, and he thinks he's around about the 7 or 8 at the moment.
Oh, that's great. I love that. I think that's healthy to know where you're at, in whether it's goals that you've set for yourself, or you're following a template of any kind. That's whatever works for you. The problem with this industry, two things that I've identified, two issues that I constantly navigate, is the external idea. I'll talk about that first, is that the idea of success in this industry is so binary to your friends and family who aren't actors.
Yeah.
Even the title of this podcast, which is great because we get to explore what it means to each individual, but to the external, to friends and family, the word making it basically means, and it always usually comes with, how long are you going to give it? How long are you going to give it till you make it? And it doesn't matter that I'm making a living off it and have for 10 years and I've been really happy doing that. I still get that question, and it really irritates me, because what does that mean? Does that mean winning an Oscar? And it's so binary. It's like you've either succeeded, you've made it, or you haven't and you've failed.
Yeah.
And no other industry operates like that. Just the creative arts, performing arts industry, really. Music, stand-up comedy, acting, and perhaps there's some others as well in the artistic industry as well. But, you know, you think about if you work in a bank, or if you work in advertising, let's say, you know, and you're, you know, a mid-level manager or an account executive, and you're making good money, but you're not the top director or the top general manager. You don't own your own agency. Nobody comes at you and says, how long are you going to give this advertising thing before you realize that $100,000 a year it's not the top, so you haven't made it.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, and so that's the external struggle, that you kind of constantly get that coming at you. Just to go back on that, I even had a friend, you know, so I keep seeing on all those ads, like that's awesome, but like, how long are you going to give it until you sort of like call it quits? Why would I call it quits if I'm working?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but you want to do real work, right? Like, you know, have you tried to get on Neighbours? Like, a number of times these motherfuckers talk about Neighbours at home and away. So yeah, that's the struggle. And the other one is the seduction of Hollywood, you know, the seduction of fame and all of those things that they're kind of talking about. It is there, like it's real. I needed to make sure that when I came here, I wasn't coming seeking that. It's okay to acknowledge that it is seductive. You know, I was living for a few months just down the road from the Oscars. And it's weird to kind of be here as an actor with that kind of going on. And it's, you just have to make sure, as I said, you curb that ambition and make sure that it's realistic and that you're comfortable with what you're achieving. Because it's never, as you said before, I don't think it's ever completely enough.
Is it not, while it's important to keep yourself in check and be realistic about your career, is being in Hollywood and being around the Oscars, living down the road from the Oscars and that kind of thing, not motivating?
Yeah, I suppose it is. I didn't find that stuff motivating in the beginning. I'm feeling really motivated and positive now because things are going in the right direction. But for the first 6 weeks, I would see the Hollywood sign every day. The first time you see the Hollywood sign, it's a bit of a buzz because it's out of the movies and the TV shows and it's there. But then for me, what was happening, I had this rooftop on my Airbnb that I would sit on and have my coffee, and I could see the Hollywood sign, and it kind of started to become this, you know, it was kind of calling out to me, sort of saying, what are you doing here? Like, you can't. I hiked up to the Hollywood sign a number of times, so close. There's a fence there, but I was so close I could have thrown a rock and hit it. You can hike all the way up to just behind it. And I'd sort of sit up there looking at it going, I physically, geographically can't be any closer to my dream if I'd tried. But I don't know what to do next, you know? And it was kind of torturous. That sign was just kind of calling out to me, and it was not literally, I'm not crazy. I wasn't talking about the sign. But, you know, it was.
Are you sure you were hearing voices on the last platform we tried to use?
We had to change platforms because I kept hearing a voice that no one else could hear. Yeah, so look, I guess motivating in that sense. Like, I think that's what I need. I need to be up against a wall. I need the savings to be going backwards. I need adrenaline. I need, you know, pressure to perform. All of my auditions, I'll do them typically kind of last minute. Because I need that, like, all right, there's literally no more time. You've got to get this done now. So I think once I started feeling like that, I sort of put the foot down and made some things happen here, which now I feel great about.
Yeah, sure. Let's delve into that a little bit because I mean, if you've listened to the podcast, I think one of the reasons that I do this is to kind of tap into the mental health struggles that we go through in this journey, because it's very easy to personalize them and make it and feel like we're alone and that nobody else is experiencing that same kind of thing. And I think a lot of Aussies have dreams of heading out to LA and making it in whatever way they think making it is, whether that is Oscars or simply earning $50,000 a year to go out with their mates and pay the bills. So let's delve into that a little bit. I think in your email and just now you said like once you arrived for the first 6 weeks, you were feeling pretty down and pretty awful. Negative. Talk to me about that experience and the types of thoughts that were going through your head as you'd kind of made. I mean, it's a massive thing to do to pick up and move overseas, especially for an industry that is so incredibly difficult to get anywhere in. And you want to do real work, not just commercials. So
that's right. And that's the thing. I'd live off commercials, and I have. But oh
God, I would kill to have I would kill to have some 10 grand commercials every couple of months.
Oh, yeah, it's to me, like I do a lot of voiceovers, and I will answer that question you just asked as well, not to divert too much, but the voiceover avenue that I was able to access at Nova, that was the one good thing I took from advertising. Well, not the one good thing, but that was what fed into my career now. Is I've lived off voiceovers for the last 10 years really, and then everything else, music and doing a commercial sort of once a year has supplemented that. So I've been very lucky to do that. But coming here to answer your question, I had nothing lined up. I came here in 2019 for 10 days, and that was really encouraging. The problem with that was that I was here for a wedding in Mexico, and so I was like, I'll stop off in LA and check this place out for the first time, and never traveled on my own, and it was a lot of fun. But the difference was I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was coming to meet me in 10 days. So there's security there. You're kind of going, I'm here for 10 days, and I don't have to achieve anything. I got to meet a couple of managers and the head of casting at CBS. My agent in Melbourne set that up for me. And I thought, all right, this is going to be great when I come back. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to live here. It's going to be awesome. But the difference when you move here is it's no longer a holiday. And I had a mate just before I left Melbourne. We were sort of having farewell drinks. And he said, but are you going there for work or are you going there for a junket? And in the back of my mind, I kind of knew that I was kind of going for a junket to begin with. Meaning,
what do you mean by that?
Like he was just saying, are you going there just to drink and go to bars and, be single and do that like you're 21 again? Or are you actually going for your career? And the scary thing was I didn't know how to start my career over here. Even though I'd kind of done it in Melbourne, and that's, I guess, what gave me confidence to come here, I didn't really know what my steps were going to be. Mm-hmm. So all I knew was I'm going to go back to those bars I was at in 2019, and I'm going to have lots of fun, and everything will work out because there's so many people working in the industry here. You meet them all the time that things will just work out. And 6 weeks in, I'm not someone that goes to bars on their own in Melbourne. I've got friends to do that with, or I'll stay home. I'm not a big drinker in Melbourne either. I personally don't, drink on my own or anything like that. So going from basically going out once or twice a week to play gigs in Melbourne, and I'd have a few drinks with Tommy, who I play music with there, and then I'd go home. Going from that to kind of going out 4 to 5 nights a week, because the first week, I'll kind of break it down. The first 2 weeks, it was like, all right, I'm here in Hollywood, literally living in the suburb of Hollywood, which is just awful, by the way. West Hollywood is really, or is much, much nicer. And that's kind of the famous Sunset Strip. And it was a 10-minute drive from where I was. So I'd get in an Uber and I'd be like, I'm on the Sunset Strip. This is amazing. And I would always have a good night, but I'd kind of wake up naturally feeling like a 37-year-old hungover guy. And I was like, oh, my body can't handle this like it used to.
I know that feeling well.
Yeah, it was painful. And so then I'd feel a bit low and I'd go, well, just go out again. And I did that for a couple of weeks, and that was fine because it was sort of feeling like I'm in Hollywood, I'm in LA, this is kind of a party. There's no pressure on me. But the longer I did that for, the worse I was feeling. And because there was just nothing going on, and I had a lot of questions from friends like, "How are the auditions going?" I was like, "I haven't auditioned for anything," and I would have some really questionable moments where I desperately wanted to come home. I'd had enough, but I couldn't. I couldn't come home yet. I'd told everyone I was going to come here for a year. I told myself I was going to come here for a year. I had to kind of figure it out, push through.
Yeah.
So that's those first 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Do you mind if I ask how much money you saved up before you moved?
I've put $60,000 aside to burn through for 12 months, which is not much because of the conversion. It works out to be something like 48 or something like that. I can't remember now. That's bad maths. It's a while ago now, but it's something, maybe it's like 45 or something like that. And it works out to be US. And that includes accommodation and everything else. That's not going to last a year. I'll tell you what, that's running low already. But I've been fortunate in that I assumed my planning was, all right, you're not going to make 1 cent. Right? Not that I was being pessimistic, but I was just sort of saying, let's assume that you don't, and I have that money to go through and use. And the fortunate thing is, I'm a voice actor, as I said, and because of COVID, a lot of the voice work is still happening from home digitally. So remotely is the word I was looking for then. Happening remotely. So some of those clients that I've had have said, we don't care if he's in LA or St. Kilda, we'll still use him. So I've been able to do that. But
that's good. There's
another story attached to that, which I can come back to later. There's another reason why I was carrying a lot of stress around. You want me to talk about that now?
Sure, go.
Well, if sometimes you might hear me sort of getting a bit croaky, or maybe I'm hyper paranoid about it now.
Don't talk about anything you don't feel comfortable talking about.
Oh no, I'm saying that when I clear my throat, I'm thinking everyone's noticing it, and I've had a couple of friends go, you just need to relax. Your voice sounds fine. But I had a jiu-jitsu injury in January 2020, just before I got the visa actually, and this guy just choked the shit out of me in this tournament that I did, and I'd only just really started jiu-jitsu. I threw myself in and got a nasty choke that caused nerve damage, and it was affecting my voiceovers and affecting my singing, and my voice was kind of sitting at about 85%, and that 15% that was missing was just really annoying me. And so I had a surgeon say, well, I can fix that up. And so he injected filler into the vocal cords to make it easier for them to close, because that was the issue, is that my muscle was just not strong enough from the nerve injury to close the vocal cords. So this filler is meant to bulk them up and make it easier for the muscle to close them. But it just went really wrong. It actually made it significantly worse. So that was October. Getting here was a couple of months after the surgery. Well, I guess it was almost 3 months, but it was still cooked. I still now, if I go to a bar in a loud environment, I can't comfortably project. So I was kind of coming in here with that as well, that I've got this busted up voice, no agent, no prospects. You're going out most nights, hungover most days. Like, what's your plan here? Like,
here I am sitting here listening to you, thinking, fuck, this guy's voice sounds so good. It's any wonder he does voiceover. Like, it's so deep and resonant. It's everything that I wish my voice sounded like.
Isn't that funny too? Because all that, since losing it, and I significantly did lose, there was a period there where it was just cooked, gone. And now, it is coming back. And when it's quiet like this, I can comfortably speak. It's fine. But I did lose a lot of voiceover work. So a lot of that work that I was hoping was going to come through, didn't. A lot of it I was able to keep because my voice can do certain things and not others. But there were a couple of regular clients that were like, well, I'm trying to think if I should name the client. Maybe I won't. But it's one of the energy companies that I've done all the voiceovers for about probably 6 years, and they've just been so wonderful to me. And they're still kind of checking in every month. They'll kind of go, how's his voice? And I'll put a test down and they'll go, it's not there. So there's been some setbacks that I've had to navigate.
Yeah.
With
Has that affected you, like emotionally, that change?
I've never had a panic attack before. The level of anxiety that gave me in that first month, because the doctors were confused. That doesn't make you feel good when they're going, well,
No.
strange, very strange, isn't it? You've never seen that before. What? When do you think it's going to get better? I said, give it a week. You're like, all right, I can do a week. You get to the end of 2 weeks, it's still wrecked. And they just kind of kept saying, well, maybe give it another month. And yeah, I had a couple of moments where I kind of just collapsed at home.
Yeah, wow.
Like, this is everything. I was like, this is how I make all my money. It's a huge part of my identity, my voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a big part of all of our identity. Really, it's how we communicate everything.
Of course.
And it was my strongest instrument. It's how, and I'd proven that through the voice work and the singing and the acting. And it had been completely ripped from me with no clarity on when it was going to get better. So that the filler takes up to 2 years to wear off. So we're sitting at I'm losing track now. I think sitting at the 8-month mark or something like that, 7 months maybe. And at the time, the concept of this could take 1 to 2 years was just really terrifying. So I didn't know what I was going to do. Now I'm kind of going, all right, well, if it takes another 6 months, I don't care. I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
But getting here, all the stress, I've left my country, I've left my friends, left my family, left my apartment that was, that I owned and loved. And, I kind of built a comfortable life. My life was comfortable in Melbourne and it was going well.
Yeah.
And I left to just come here so that I could always know that I had a crack. And didn't die wondering. You hear people say that all the time. That's what it was for me. I just didn't want to die wondering. But yeah, landing here and kind of going, no voice, no real money coming in that I know of, no prospects, nothing. It was it's stressful.
Yeah. I can imagine. So I want to talk about, I suppose, your journey to getting to the point of deciding to move to LA, because you said you've been working for 10 years.
Yep.
I think, I don't know who to quote, but I think that when you decide that you want to progress the career or pursue a career in acting, that you should really estimate 10 years to get to a point where you're consistently working. So in your 10 years or 9.5 years in Melbourne working as an actor, were you in the position of working as an actor and a voiceover artist and a musician?
Yeah.
Was that were you working consistently in Australian commercials and TV shows? What was your kind of path of kind of getting success to make you feel confident that now's the right time to give LA a crack? Talk to me about your, I guess, history in Australia.
Yeah, so the first 5 years of those 10, let's say, give or take a year, I was earning some money, but not enough that I felt I was earning that 50 grand pretty quickly. Probably in a few years, I was earning that.
Okay.
But then I was like, be good if that was more like 80. And you get to 80, be good if that was more like 100, maybe a bit more. So I was still working in advertising for those first 5 years. Okay. And I was lucky enough to have a job that allowed me, I was working on my own, still doing the advertising sales stuff, but I had left that for a period of time. I was really happy, but I was scraping by, I was earning like 35 grand a year or something like that. And as I said, I was happy, I didn't have to go to work every day. I'd do a couple of voiceovers a week if I was lucky and maybe a gig, and that was it. But this job opportunity came up. I was able to still go to auditions, still do voiceovers, but, earn a significant salary on top. And so I did that for a couple of years, and I was earning really great money because I was probably earning, after that, those 2 years, I was probably earning more in music and acting than I was in advertising. But to have two of them together, it allowed me to buy the apartment or put a deposit down for the apartment that I own in St Kilda and tick some life goals. But my partner at the time, she said something really that stuck with me. And she said, how much money is enough money? Because you said it was 50 grand a year. What happened to that? Like, you're earning significantly more than that. You've saved more than your original goal was. How much is enough to have in the bank? Is it 200,000? Is it 500,000? Like, what's the number? And I just said, it's always just a little bit more, just a little bit more. And I think that we all feel like that. It's never quite enough. I think it might feel like enough if you win the lottery and you get that money instantly.
Yeah.
But when you've slowly just sort of put the money away, and I was so broke in my 20s. I had so much debt, credit card debt and everything. And I just cleared that at around 30 and said, never going back again. I'll never go in debt again like that. A mortgage debt is okay, but I'll never have sort of personal loans and credit cards. So I was always worried, like, what if I run out of money? What if I run out? But she said that. I was like, yeah, you're right. It's never going to be enough. So I quit the next day. And so for the last 5 years, I would say, I've only worked as an actor and a musician. I've not done anything else. No, I'd probably say 70% of my income has come from voiceovers. Maybe 20% from music, and the other 10% just from doing, on average, a commercial every year and a half. And then sometimes they roll over, which is lucky.
Yeah,
when that happens.
So have you done, in Australia, did you get the opportunity to do much quote unquote real acting,
real work,
outside of commercials?
Yeah, I got a couple of opportunities, but not very many. I worked on a TV show called Glitch, which is on Netflix and was on ABC. Did a couple of episodes of that. That was great. And that has been a significant credit to carry into here. So my pitch to agents, which we'll talk about later, but it was basically, I've done 500 plus voiceovers in Australia, and I was on a hit TV show called Glitch. And it doesn't matter if I was only on it for like one scene or two scenes, which, that's how many I was in. Just being a part of it does open some doors. So if you are in Australia and you've got a couple of credits like that, don't think that that's not enough, because it can be. So yeah, I did that. I did a voiceover in a cartoon called Beat Bugs, and I did. What else did I do? I think that theatrically was pretty much the bulk of it. Like, the other stuff I'd done had sort of been short films and a couple of feature films that, went online somewhere.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
right.
But mostly commercial stuff.
As you know, over the past few years, self-tapes have become the norm, and they are being used by more and more industry professionals to cast all sorts of productions. I've personally recorded self-tapes for theatre and TV and film and commercials, and it makes life easier for casting as they can see more options. But what isn't easy for us actors is finding someone to read for us in the moment that we need them. That's where We Audition comes in. We Audition is an online video chat community where you can call someone that has marked themselves available, and they will read for you for your audition. You can use We Audition to rehearse, film, or just ask questions that may help your audition. Last year I had an actor contact me who had never drank alcohol, who just wanted to know how to play drunk. You can sign up to We Audition to be a reader yourself. I log into We Audition most days and I just leave it on, and people call and I accept, and I help them with their auditions. So you can earn a little extra cash doing that, and you can just meet some great people. I even helped one of the main cast of Morning Wars tape an audition towards the end of last year. Look, it's a great platform, and if you're going to sign up to be a reader, it basically pays for itself. So if you want to sign up to be a reader on We Audition, you can get 25% off using the Actors Making It discount code MAKINGIT. So just go to www.weaudition.com and use the code MAKINGIT when you sign up.
So obviously you've got being able to get to that point of working for 5 years purely making money off being creative is fantastic. So obviously that gave you the confidence to, sorry, not obviously, it's putting words into your mouth. I'm assuming that gave you the confidence to finally make the jump over the water to LA to give it a crack.
Yeah, I guess it did, or I wouldn't have done it. But the reason I'm hesitating is because it's similar to that money thing. It's kind of never enough. It's like, when am I ready? To be honest, as I said, I'm 37, nearly 38. I've been saying I'm going to LA next year for 6-7 years, since I was 30. So it's always next year. So I feel like a year is enough time that it's not too close. You know, but it's not like I'm saying I'm never going to go.
Yeah.
And it would get to a year and I'll be like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I don't have, as I said, the issue was I didn't feel like I had enough quality credits. I didn't feel, and I wasn't getting any opportunities really to do. It's not like I was auditioning for a lot of TV work and not getting it. I wasn't auditioning for a lot of TV work at all. I couldn't figure out what that was about. I tried changing agents. I tried, you know, asking for feedback on my reel, like, what do I need to do? And eventually, I think with that, when I kind of looked at what I'd achieved, when it kind of hit that 10-year mark, I was like, well, you've actually made a living off this. Like, that's got to be worth something, you know, if I can prove that in Hollywood, to say, look, I'm a working actor over here, regardless of how I got that. The thing is, it's a business, so they don't care where the money comes from. They just want to know that they can make money from you. And it's not I don't see that as a cold exchange. I see that as just a business exchange. So I think I've got something to offer agents over here, even if it is just commercials, to show that I book commercially. So that, but yeah, terrifying. I wasn't on that plane, you know, beaming with confidence. I was questioning the whole thing constantly.
But you took the leap of faith, which is great. And I think the thing that you said there is what's really important. And I think a lot of actors don't really think about is that this is all a business. This is all business. It just happens to be that you, as an actor, you are the commodity. You are the asset. So if an agent can't see a return on investment by bringing you on the books, then they're not going to get you on the books. And so many people, you know, I have so many conversations in Australia and on this podcast with actors that constantly are like, oh, I'm not getting in any auditions. I have the conversation, I'm not getting in any auditions through my agent. I'm not getting anything. What am I doing? And like, it's obviously something wrong with me, but it's just like, you know, an agent has to see that there's going to be a return on investment for you. They're not going to just get you on the books and do nothing with you. Like, that defeats the entire purpose, right? So.
Yeah, and the thing with the theatrical stuff, I remember Josh has talked about this. I think it may have been a different interview that he did, but he was talking about how it's very hard to break into Australia. It's hard to break in anywhere, right? But
yes,
I thought about it logically and thought, okay, I'm struggling in Australia to break through. I've got a few friends that weren't, but I was. Plays with your confidence a little bit, but then I thought, well, it's a numbers game, right? You know, it's a multi-million-dollar industry in Australia. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry in LA alone. You know, it's everywhere. You know, it's you come here and you say you're an actor, and people don't even bat an eyelid. There are actors everywhere. Everyone's an actor, a producer, a director. Not literally everyone, but I would say 8 out of 10 people that I meet. And at this point, I've met hundreds of people, maybe I don't know, a couple of hundred of people I reckon I've spoken to in all of those late nights out. You know, 8 out of 10 people work in the industry. It's the reverse in Melbourne. It's, you know, 1 or 2 in 10. Probably less than that. It's probably more like, you know, 5 in 100 people actually say, yeah, I'm an actor too. Like, it's extremely rare. So you kind of go, okay, well, if there's that much work over here, if there's that many things going on, then I've got to have more opportunities to play into than I'm going to have in Australia. Yes, there's more competition, but that's okay with me. I just wanted more auditions and more opportunities. That was my thinking. Come here, study, audition more, and take that experience back to Melbourne. That was my goal. Of course, I wanted more than that to happen, but that was what I thought I could realistically achieve. Get an agent. I knew I could do that, and start auditioning and see what happens.
Awesome. So let's that's the experience getting you to LA. Now fast forward past the six weeks of feeling like you want to go home. and being into the kind of positive headspace. How long did it take you to land your agent in LA, given that you landed with nothing lined up?
Yeah. So,
and what process did you take to get that?
That was the part. That was the struggle. Was how do I do it? You know, do I Google all agents in LA, which I did, and just start hammering out emails? That just didn't seem realistic. It was confusing. It's confusing in Australia. There are 250 agents in Los Angeles. So some of those are multiple agents within the same agency, but that's how many people there are to contact commercially and theatrically. It was overwhelming, and that's what kept stopping me from sort of figuring out what I was doing. Kept reaching out to my agent for some help, but they weren't having any luck, and then that knocked my confidence around. I was like, even my agent can't get me meetings here. You know, there's also the confusion around managers in LA, which is not a thing in Australia unless you're, you know, a lead on Home and Away or something. You don't need a manager in Australia. As I said, there's not enough going on that you need a manager and an agent, publicist and all that kind of stuff. So do I need a manager? Do I need an agent? Do I need both? And I thought, you know, let's just start with an agent. Everyone was sort of talking about managers. I thought, well, I'll see how I go with an agent. Well, to be honest, what I used was a company called Agent Blasters, the name of which threw me a little bit.
Immediately I'm thinking like, yeah, we can blast an email out to every agent immediately saying, hey, here's Will.
Yeah, just BCC every agent. I'm sure they'd love that with, you know, spam about me. It's a good way to get blacklisted. That's what I thought. But I looked into it. I was luckily there was a friend of mine here who had used it. Well, he was following them on Instagram, so I asked him. He was using it, and he'd had success, and that's how he got his representation. And all I could see online was just review after review after review of people saying, I got 10 meetings, I got 20 meetings, I got, you know, 3 meetings, but I've never had representation before, and I've been searching for 5 years. You know, there are actors here who've been acting their whole life in LA who still don't have representation.
Yeah, wow.
So it's, you know, so I used that company, and it was brilliant. And I told them that it effectively tailors an email, uses a program that tailors an email to all of those 250 people in LA, except for the ones that have said that they don't take unsolicited emails and offers or requests for representation. They kind of, I felt like I felt like I didn't really need any help writing this email, but they offered it, and I sent them my email, and they gave me some pointers that just completely changed the way I was approaching writing these requests. And it tailors it. So if you're an agent, Danny, it'll say, hi, Danny, and then it'll have my information, and it's a specific email that goes to you, and that will be for every single agent. It doesn't BCC. And I got 20 meetings out of that, 20 agents. That I think I took 15 of them, and because it was getting a little bit overwhelming, and it wasn't like it all happened in one day. It would be, you know, 10 days later, another agent wants to meet, or another 2 agents. And so I eventually capped it. And the funny thing is, it was the last agent that I met with that I went with. I got offers from all of them. Some of them said, we're not really interested theatrically, but we'll take you commercially. Some said, we'll take you for both. And I was looking for both. I didn't want to just do commercial representation. I wanted someone I wanted ideally just one agency to keep it clean and neat. That would cover me for both, because again, it's different to Australia. If you get an agent, they do both. Over here, it's quite common that you'll have the agency split into 2 departments, or some agencies only do commercials. That's how big the industry is here, that you can have, you know, just one side of the industry ticking along. And yeah, in the end, I went with the last person that I met with. She was the only one. Her name is Carrie Macy. She's been just wonderful, and she was the only person that met with me in person. Obviously, these days, it's easy to do Zoom, and it's not uncommon. So that's how it was, either a phone call or Zoom with everybody else. And that was fine. That's kind of what I expected. But she said, no, I want to meet you. So I went into her office in Beverly Hills, which felt kind of cool. And, you know, that's something I can come back to as well. Just these little moments, even during those 6 weeks of going, oh, this is great. This moment's awesome. You know, I really feel like I'm in LA now. And that was probably my first great acting moment where I went, this is great. You know, I'm going to meet an agent. I always try and go, if 27-year-old William who did that first acting class was told you'll have 20 meetings in LA and one of them is going to be in person in an office in Beverly Hills and she's going to want to sign you like that, that's a huge, huge accomplishment. But, when you're in it, you're kind of going, yeah, I should be getting that by now, or I should, I've come all this way, so I have to achieve that. So I just tried to celebrate that a little bit at the time. And we sat there for like 90 minutes talking, and it was really wonderful. And she gave me some pointers, things I needed to clean up on my, resume and the various websites you have to be a part of. And we kind of workshopped some things in there. And that's how I got my agent.
Amazing. And how's that been working out for you? Because I mean, we're in, it's the 28th of May. So we're
a couple of months. I've had
4 or 5 months into your LA journey. So what's having an agent changed, and how are you feeling about it all now?
Yeah, I did get lucky. I had
no such thing as luck
now.
There's no such thing as luck.
No, there's not. There's not. I shouldn't say that, actually.
What is it? That I was talking to somebody about this recently. Luck is preparedness meeting opportunity.
Yeah, that's I've heard that, and you're absolutely right. It's that tall poppy thing, that Australian tall poppy thing creeping in. Where I'm like, listen, it's not me. It's just I got lucky. Yeah, you're right. So I've had an agent for 2 months. I've been here 4 months. And so those first 6 weeks were a bit shit. And then those next 2 weeks was kind of when I started getting those meetings. At the end of that, I went with Carrie, and the auditions just started coming in, and it reaffirmed my original thinking around the numbers game. Suddenly I can't count now how many things I've auditioned for, paid theatrical opportunities that I've auditioned for. And that's all I was really wanting. And I ended up getting a guest role within 10 days on a Warner Brothers show called The Sex Lives of College Girls, which
funny show, very funny show.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. I hadn't heard of it, and I thought, what is this, like an adult film series? It's not. It's a very funny comedy, and that was great. That was another one of those moments. So, get the wardrobe first, get the booking. Playing in Australian, so tick, no worries, can do that.
Nice.
And I want to come back to that as well. Don't let me forget to talk about the Australian thing here, because there's a big opportunity for Australians at the moment.
Okay.
So went on to the Warner Brothers lot to do my wardrobe fitting, and that was a huge. Again, it was one of those, take this in, enjoy this. My pass said actor on it, and it was valid for 2 hours. I was in the wardrobe with those girls for a couple of, maybe I was there for like 1 hour, one of those 2 hours, and I was trying to think of their names and I blanked, so that's what that hesitation was. I feel bad about that. They were lovely. They really were, because you can have all sorts of experience in this industry. Australia, here, it doesn't matter. And I just was like, I don't want to go to Warner Brothers, they'll probably be a little bit in and out with me, but they weren't. We were laughing, we had a great time, and they said, why don't you go and explore the lot? I was like, am I allowed to just walk around? Like, is that? So yeah, have you got your pass? So yeah, it's got an hour left on it. Because for the next hour, you do whatever you want here. Just don't walk into the studios.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, okay, cool. And so that's what I did. And I got a little snap and an Instagram, fucking Instagram video of me on the lot, with the Warner Brothers Tower not too far off, and went and had a coffee and had something to eat, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, walking past the Friends stage and the Big Bang Theory stage. And I just felt like, this is a great dream kind of come true. It was just to be there. And I felt like I belonged for that minute. You do those things, you enjoy them. And then when they're all over, you're back to square one a little bit. You got this great credit, and filming it was fantastic. It wasn't on the lot. It was somewhere else. But that was a great experience as well. Met great people, worked with really lovely people, had a great day, had a trailer, had all these, little things that were, you kind of, these things you want to experience, but then it's over and you're back to auditioning again. So you got to celebrate the good moments. You got to celebrate them, not say that you're lucky, like you pointed out, be proud of them. And I am really proud that I got to do that. And then acknowledge that you're kind of back to work again. back to figuring out what's next. The other thing I got to do was a film that's coming out in this year called We Have a Ghost, which is coming out on Netflix. That's got David Harbour in it and some other people as well. I won't go through the whole cast, but it's David Harbour's the sheriff out of Stranger Things. That's kind of what he's best known as, I guess. And the brief was just do an Instagram, TikTok style video on your phone. Doesn't need to be a professional background. Would prefer it wasn't. Just ranting about why ghosts don't deserve equal rights. And so I wrote this little monologue down and I said, give it up to 2 minutes. I think it went for like 90 seconds. And I did this rant, did a few takes, sent the best one in, and they said, perfect, we'll just use that in the film. So the audition piece is going to be in the movie. So that was the easiest job ever. Didn't have to set my lights up, didn't have to do the whole slate to camera and all that kind of stuff that comes with self-test, which can just be a nightmare. It was the easiest one I've ever done, and they're going to use it. So that's another little tick.
Do you feel a little bit like ripped off that you don't actually get to go and act in the film?
No, I don't. I think that had they have said, for example, look, that would have been great. That would have been great. But I think if they had said, oh, if we like it, we're going to use this in the film, I would have overthought it. I would have been worrying about my hair. I would have been, all the vanity and the perfectionism, all that stuff probably would have crept in a little bit. And I just really threw this thing away off the cuff. I wrote it down and I did take care with it, but I was really free with it. It felt fun and easy. So I'm really happy with what I did, and I'm happy again that I was free enough, that it was good work, and that good work will be in the film. That's probably all I really care about. And I get a great credit, and that I'm happy with what I did. I don't know, I might use 5 seconds of it. I've got no idea. But yeah,
very well. It's still very cool. God, they're definitely the easy acting gigs are always attractive. You said a second ago that to remind you to talk about the Australians in Hollywood at the moment. So what does that mean?
Yeah, thank you. Well, when I met with all those agents, the thing that got me in, one of the things that got me in, I did have a strong CV around the voiceovers and had proven that I was capable of earning money for an agency, but they said, we need an Australian. Perfect timing. And I thought about it. I hadn't really considered that. But, the borders only opened internationally in November. I came in January, and what they were saying was, we had so many agents that we had an Australian, but he left, he left during COVID and he hasn't come back. So we've got a gap on our books, because really that's what it is. It's just a list of demographics that they need to tick off. They need someone that's this age and white, and they need someone that's this age and Chinese, and they need an Australian, and they need someone that's native, and they just have this list. And most boutique agencies have got around 200 actors, and they sort of said, we don't want 2 of you. We want, I think my agent's got 1 Australian, and he's in his 60s, right? So it's completely different. They don't have multiple versions. I mean, I think that's a big thing for Australians to know if you're thinking about coming over. I don't know if it's still like that, 4 months on, but I'd imagine it probably would be. 4 months goes by like that. There's a little gap here. There's not as many Australians here as there once was. So,
well, it's interesting because I have just landed my agent. I'm moving to London in October. Kind of the same reason, apart from the fact that I love it over there, but same reason as you, is like, I want to be in an area, in a location where there is more opportunity than what there is where I am, because probability says that if there's more opportunity, then I'll get more opportunity. But I signed when I was talking to the guy the agency that I've signed up with. He literally said, I don't have an Aussie on my books, and I don't have anyone that looks like you on my books. So you'd be great. So that was something that he said. So, but. Do you find that the auditions that you're getting then are predominantly for Aussie characters, or?
No. Okay. No, just that one that I did. I don't think there's been any others. But yeah, no, and I actually had some interesting advice, which has been, it wasn't challenging. I had to do one yesterday and it was fine, but they've said, do your slate in an American accent. Don't have them thinking, oh, this guy's Australian. Oh, that could be a problem. Even though especially because it usually starts with a slate.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want them thinking, oh, this guy's not American. He might struggle with the accent. Even if I haven't struggled with the accent, and I generally don't, you don't want to start with doubt. You don't want them to start with doubt. So as false as it can seem, I've actually been doing my slates with an American accent.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah, I'm getting more comfortable with that now because it's not me. And that's something, again, I go off on tangents, Danny.
Everybody does on podcasts.
Rein me in.
Everybody does on podcasts. I released an episode where another podcast host actually interviewed me for my podcast recently, and I did the same thing. I was like, I'm doing what everybody does, and we've gone off on a complete roundabout of what the question was.
Yeah. And even worse, I can't even remember what that tangent was now. So there you go.
All good. Well, look, it sounds like we're actually coming up to about an hour worth of chatting, which is crazy, given all of the technical dramas that we've had. So I guess we haven't really delved too much into the visa situation, but is there anything that you want to talk about around visa? Because you said in your email that it's quite the process. Obviously, you had a visa for 2 years and it's coming up for expiration. What does that really look like for you?
So it expires in January, but I have to get the application in by the end of June to ensure that we get it. And if you are here for 1 day longer, so let's say my visa expires January 26, right? Let's say my next visa, if I get one, starts January 28. I've got to leave the country, interview in Australia at the embassy, and then come back in. So it's important that that's another thing. But it's a nightmare of a process. The things that you need include 9 to 12 letters of recommendation from people in the industry, casting directors, people that have employed you. That's not easy to get, but it's easier than you think. If you've been doing it for a while, even someone like you, Danny, I could ask you and say, look, can you, my lawyer, you have to have a lawyer, and they'll find a way to really glam up the CV of the person that's signing the letter, whether it needs it or not. If you really condense someone's achievements down into one paragraph, it's for all of us, it's quite impressive. So you need 9 to 12 letters of recommendation. You need 5 press that's been written about you, interviews like these. So this is really great for my press kit. I'll be able to put this into my lawyer. No, really, because I've said, look, Danny's got this podcast. It's really great. It's been going for this amount of time, and it's a legitimate form of press. But it's not easy to source a lot of that stuff when you're starting out, and you do generally have to source it unless you are already a name that's got articles written about you in the Herald Sun and stuff like that. Who's got articles written about them? Maybe you've had a couple of theatre reviews. That doesn't count. It has to be TV, film related. So it's pretty tough. So, your lawyer can source a lot of that for you as well. So if you're struggling to source that yourself, they can do that. That costs money. The lawyer costs money. You have to have deal memos. So you have to have, they want to see that you've got work lined up during the visa period. Right. If you don't have work lined up by way of a deal memo, you don't get in. So you have to find a producer or a director. In fact, you need 2 now. It used to be 1. Now you need 2 deal memos written saying we intend on employing William Prescott over the course of the next 3 years. So that comes down usually to just hustling and finding, and just finding someone that's willing to put their name to you. Which is challenging. And there's all this other stuff as well that you just have to prove your employment, your income, and all that kind of stuff, and then you just let your lawyer do the work. You're looking at anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 Australian. And I was aware of that well in advance. Everyone had kind of thrown around this $10,000 figure. If you've got 10 grand, you can get a visa, and you can, but it's It's hard.
Hard work.
It's hard.
Excuse me.
And maybe it should be. Maybe that, maybe it should be that hard, to go through all of that, to be allowed to come here and work as an actor. Otherwise everyone would be here doing it, right? And they make it difficult, but perhaps that's fair enough. What kind of annoys me is that I've been working here, and that's all well and good, but it's actually not a prerequisite for getting another visa. It sort of helps my case because they'll celebrate. My lawyer will sort of talk about everything I've done, but it's I've got to go through all the old hoops, jump through all the old hoops again. So,
well, good luck with that. I'm sure it will all work out.
It will. It'll be fun. Yeah.
What would be? I'll ask one final question. What would be one piece of advice? What would be the piece of advice that you would give somebody that is thinking about making the move to LA to pursue their acting dreams?
I would just say, have a budget and just come.
Okay.
And you land here, you start meeting people, and you start figuring things out because you're forced to. As I said, when you're up against the wall, and not that we should care too much about what other people think, but it creeps into my head. It does. People are going to think I'm a failure if I come home. When I say people, I'm talking about my immediate friends and family. I do want those important people in my life to be proud of me. And, when you're up against it, you'll figure it out. Don't come here broke. Don't come here without a visa. That's probably the two things. Don't bother. Unless you're coming just to check out LA, which is what I did the first time. That's fine. Come here, stay for a couple of weeks, stay for a month, see if you even like it here. That's what I was sort of thinking those first 10 days. Do I even like this place? Never been here. It's an idea in my head. So, it is fun. It's a great city to live in. It's really friendly. Don't listen to the bullshit around everyone's stuck up in LA. I have not experienced that. I've experienced more of that in Melbourne. Not that Melbourne's stuck up, but it's interesting how many people are open here. Most people that are here are from somewhere else. They're transplants. They're from Chicago, or they're from England, or they're from Australia, or wherever. And so everyone relates to that move. Everyone, when you tell them like, oh, you just moved here, the number of people are, so you just moved here. Oh, how are you going? There's a really open energy here. So that's been my experience anyway. So just come, just have a budget, have a visa, or come to check it out.
Awesome. Great advice. Budget. That's the main thing I'm hearing, budget.
Yeah, well, you can't get by anywhere without money coming in. So.
Well, no. Well, I believe, like, if you don't have a budget, your O1 visa, you can only work as an actor, right?
That was something I didn't say before. Yeah, that's the challenge. I can't just go and I'm going to work in a bar for a little bit, or work in a supermarket. I'd prefer not to do that, but whatever. You can only work as an actor, and technically, this visa I can only work in TV and film. I can't even really do voiceovers and things. There are ways around that, but it's challenging. So that's why you do need money kind of saved, ready to go. Unless you've got a green card, which is much harder to get. You can obviously win the lottery. If you've won the lottery, that's great. The difference between, I know that you're running low on time. This is really quick though. The difference between a green card and an O1, and the reason that I wanted an O1 originally was because you can come and go as you please with an O1, and you don't have a set amount of time that you need to be in LA or in America. You can be here for one day, or you can be here for the 3 years that your visa goes for. Up to 3 years is how long the O1 can be. With a green card, you have to live here minimum 6 months of the year. And if you don't, and a lot of people lost their green cards during COVID. I know someone in Australia, an actress that lost her green card because she couldn't come here. So that's it. Green card gone, no exceptions. So yeah, that's worth thinking about. And everyone wants to win the lottery. And that's great. But have you really thought about what happens when you win it? Because then you've got to move here within the next few months. So that's pretty daunting.
I do know so many people that have won the green card lottery though.
Me too.
Which is really interesting. It's apparently it's very easy to win.
The word lottery makes it sound a lot harder. I have to confess, I've never entered the lottery, so that's how organized I am. I talk about budget and giving advice, but frankly, I should have been entering the lottery the last few years, because there's been a lot of green cards to give out over the last couple of years because of COVID, particularly the last 12 months. My lawyer was telling me that there's a significant number available at the moment for
Is that not
Australians.
something that you can apply for now that you're there?
And the press part of it is what's stopping me. So I spoke to my lawyer about that, and he said you need like really impressive press. It needs to be Variety. It needs to be US press written about you to get a green card. You know.
No, but I mean, can you not apply for the lottery?
No, missed the cutoff. The cutoff. So it opens again in September, I think. No, missed it for this time. You know, I haven't got the O1. I was kind of like, I'm not applying for anything. I don't need to worry. I'm not doing any more applying for things for the States. I've got my visa, and now I'm here. I'm like, you should have been applying.
Well, hindsight is a wonderful thing. Will, thank you so much for having a chat with me. It's been really nice, and it sounds like you're well on your way to making it in whatever way making it means to you over there, which is great. And I look forward to kind of following along your journey.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks for having me, mate. I appreciate it. It's been a great chat.
Awesome. See you later.